Okay, well, welcome to Neti 105 Spring 2015. The we're going to have a statewide synchronous online live seminar, and we're going to run these every Thursday night from 7 to 8:30. And we might, if students get wrapped up before then with their questions, we might wrap up a little bit early. But I'm going to do the lecture portion, and then we'll have a Q&A after that, and hopefully get all your questions asked and answered about the material. So first I need to ask a question of the audience, and one, I need to make sure everyone can see the chat window and the question area, and then you get familiar with using the software. You should, the GoToMeeting or the GoToWebinar should allow you to be able to see, you don't see the attendees, but you should be able to see the questions box, and you should be able to see the chat box. The chat box is just for putting in regular information, and the question area is to going and putting in an actual question. And I think Andrew put a question in. Oh, okay, I see what you did. Oh, you can only put in questions. Oh, okay. Thank you, Emily. Okay, so you cannot see. This is I'm used to using, and I'm going to remove that. I am used to using. Okay, thank you. I see what you're putting in now. Okay, I see where everybody's putting their questions in. I gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to delete those out for you. Okay, I see where those are going now. I am new to this GoToWebinar. I'm used to using the GoToMeeting where everybody can see the chat window. So let me see if I'm gonna change some options around here and see if I can get this where everybody can see the chat window. Let's see here. Let's see, show. So give me just a minute as I'm working on this. So at least now I know everyone can hear me. I was looking in the chat box and nobody was popping in, and wondering why I wasn't getting an answer until I sent a private message to Kelly, and then I got a response, and then I saw the questions on there. So give me a minute as I go through here. I'm going to try to figure out why you're not seeing the chat box. Let's. I've just got to go down through my options here. See, you should be able to see the chat box, and I don't know why you're not able to. Let me go over to the webinar area and edit that real quick, and give me a second. So you should be able to see engage your, okay, polls and surveys. We don't have to worry about that. Editable. I was saying it's not editable because I'm in online, which is fine. And okay, I'm still here with you. I'm just checking to see why. Well, it's not letting me do polls, and okay. Well, it's not letting me do the chat window. So and you can put your answer in on the question box if you need to, but let me ask Kelly here a question. And maybe it's only when I ask a question directly to. And I'm not going to like this software very much if it doesn't let me chat with you, because I'm used to chatting with the students and seeing the chat information go by, which is normally the GoToMeeting software, which is a little bit different than the GoToWebinar. Question chat window. Okay, so Kelly's seeing a question chat window. What I really need to do is log in with a different login and see what's going on. I tested this earlier in the week, and I thought the chat window was working fine, so apparently it doesn't work on there. So give me just a second. I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to check one thing. So just be patient with me if you don't mind. We'll get it worked out and figure this out. It'll just take a few minutes. My plan for the course, just so you know, while I'm working on this, I'm also going to talk to you. my plan for the course is to go over the material, and I need to just register for a webinar. I don't need to edit the date and time, so hold on just a second. Oh, there we go. I've got to register. So that's what I've got to do. So my goal for the class is to cover the material each week. And we're going to do some catch up on this because my plan was to get these weekly seminars started earlier in the year, but we had some glitches and some things going on statewide. And these seminars will be offered to statewide students. Any student in Ivy Tech that's taking the Neti 105 online will be able to come and take and participate in the seminar. So we could have upwards of 100, could potentially have upwards of 100 or so if everybody in the course, I think there's something like 200 and some odd students that are taking this online course. I think maybe something along those lines. It's a big number. So we could have a few students in here. And I'm just doing some typing here. And no. And trying to get this uploaded. I'm uploading it in a student window or another window so I can have, you cannot join another session at this time. Lovely. And I can't get on my desktop. So I wanted to see what this was going to look like, but I can't do that. I should log into my desktop and do that, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm assuming everyone is able to hear me at this point, and I think a few of you did answer in the question area. So if you do have a question, just go to the questions box and type in your question. I will get to those as quick as possible. And if I need to chat with you privately or chat with you, let me pop out the questions here. I'm popping out you can't see them, but I'm going to pop those out so that I've got those on my computer, and I will be looking for those. So if you have a question, put your question in, and then let me get the Neticad pulled up here, and then I'll ask you as you go through. So if you have questions, if you don't understand some of the material, pop your question in. What I'll do is as I get to a certain part of the material, I'll stop and I'll answer questions as you put them in there. So if I can have, let me see if I'm gonna pick on Kelly again. Kelly, can you just go ahead and pop a question? It doesn't matter what it is. Just say answer yes or whatever in the question area. That way I know that one or at least you are able to do that as we go through the material. Now, I know we are a few weeks into the course, and I know all of you in this seminar here are in my course. So going from here on out, we're going to have the Thursday night seminar, so you'll be able to attend these. These are also recorded, and they will be put up on the YouTube website by Ivy Tech. I will also be putting them up on my YouTube site. So if you go to my YouTube site, let me see here. Let me pop that up and go to my channel here. Well, craziness going on with it. My link's not running right. Go to not my subscriptions. Go to my channel. There we go. Let me pop that up there for you. My channel there. If you go to if you go to YouTube and you Google YouTube and you put in Jason E. Johnson 31, you'll be able to find my channel. Jason E. Johnson 31. I don't know who this other person is. There's a lot of Jason E. Johnsons. Man, there's a bunch of them out on the internet. I don't even think that, well, that might be, but some of these other ones aren't me. But anyway, because I'm not even on Pinterest. So that's crazy. But if you find this one right here, this is my YouTube channel right there. And if you find that, you'll be able to go down through and you can look at my playlist, and you can go back through and look at some of the older material. I taught this course in the fall, and I have, if you look at the playlist for the fall, I've got seminars that I did for those students in that class. And you're not required to go back and look at those. Those run anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour on those seminars, and they cover the material. So I'm going to be doing the same thing in this class, but if you want to go pick up a topic and look at that, you can do that. I also have playlist on the Neti RS, routing and switching for the one. These are all the PowerPoints. This is essentially the same material that I'm going to be teaching in this seminar, but I've broken it down into smaller parts. I've tried to break it down. Some of these run upwards of 20 minutes, and I just apologize for them being that long. But and I need to get Chapter 9. I've got Chapter 8 in there, but I've got to finish Chapter 8, Chapter 9, and do some of those other ones. I just haven't done that yet. But those give you the first PowerPoints for there. And then if you look at the, if you just check my uploads out, I've got some different uploads on there. If you just click on uploads, you can go back through and look. I've got a lot of different material in there. Some of them are for different classes I teach, but you can, just pick and choose if you see something that you need. I teach a lot of different classes, do a lot of different videos, but if you can just find one that, there's Cisco information, things like that. So I just wanted to show you that. That's there. If you subscribe to me on the channel there, I believe once you subscribe, I think you see updates from everything I post. When I post new videos, it sends a link to you and says, hey, there's a new video up there, and then you can check it out and see if it's something that might be helpful for you. But I will be putting these seminars on my channel. Ivy Tech's also going to be putting them on their YouTube channel, but at least you know where they'll be here on mine. So if you subscribe there, it will you'll be able to find that easy. And if you don't, those are my two dogs, the two Chihuahuas. Well, that's him. They'll eat you alive if you're not careful. He's 8 pounds. He's 12 pounds. She's 6 pounds. So I'm joking when I say that. They sound mean, but they're really not. Okay, so let's take a look at Neti 105. I've got about 7:20 p.m. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lecture tonight a little bit longer than normal, but as we go through the material, what I want you to do is pop in any questions. Go to the questions box. You should be able to see that on there, and pop in any questions that you might have. And pop those in there, and then I'll answer them as we go through. Because well, there we go. I just wanted to make sure my question there. Okay, so what is CCNA routing and switching, or what is Neti 105? If you should already be familiar with the software, but I'm going to treat this as if we're starting the first night of class and then rapidly move through. Neti 105 is network fundamentals. 80% of the class focuses on the Cisco routing and switching. We use the Neti site. I will tell you my personal feelings is I've lobbied Ivy Tech to focus more on the Network Plus certification instead of the Cisco material. I believe the Cisco material is helpful and it's useful. However, I think we should really focus on the Network Plus material. But with all of that said, 80% of this material is focused on the Cisco routing and switching, and 20% is focused on the Network Plus. But let me finish and say with that learning the network, or learning the Cisco routing and switching, will prepare you for the Network Plus. The Network Plus is really a certification that you would get in line going toward the Cisco certifications. This Cisco course, or this course material that you're learning here, is the first course in a series of 4 courses that get students or work students towards the CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Administrator. So the material you're learning in here is going to prep you for the Cisco certification, which is a valuable certification. At the same time, if you signed up for this course and you paid your fees, which you're here and you did, you paid for the Network Plus certification through CompTIA. So as we go through this course, and this is from my particular students, you will get a communication here in the next few weeks, and I believe it is this week 5 that you need to turn it in, but I think I'm going to move it for my students. But if you go to CompTIA.org, click on certifications, you'll get this page right here, and if you look at the Get Certified and go down to the Network Plus, this is the certification that you have paid for. You have 1 year from the time the course started to take your Network Plus CompTIA certification course. Now, I'm going to talk as if I'm talking to the entire state body of students. What you would need to do is get with your instructor and find out at which location you need to contact as far as taking your Network Plus. For the Richmond students, and I know we're all Richmond students here, so I'll just go ahead and say this, I will be forwarding that information to you over the next few weeks, and sometime in the next 6 months to 8 months, you'll want to, earlier if you feel comfortable, is to go ahead and schedule your Network Plus, and you'll be taking that at some point to see if you can pass that. And it looks like Brian has his hand raised. Brian, if you've got your hand raised, go ahead and pop a question in the question box, or type a question in the question box, and I'll be able to see what you need on there. If you don't mind on that. Okay, so you can check out the CompTIA at some point. What I also want to show you is there's a couple of different texts you can use to study for the CompTIA Network Plus. But if you go to Books 24/7, and let me see if I can find this here. If you go to Books 24/7, I've got the direct link to it. But if you go to Campus Connect, log into Campus Connect, and there we go. I'll have to log in here too to Ivy Tech. And if you go to the Library tab, this is the long way to get there. Go to the Library tab, go to the Ivy Tech Library, Richmond, go to Books, search and find, click on Books here, click on Books 24/7, and then you get to this page. What I would recommend doing is saving this link right here, and that's what I did over here. And it won't let me log in. You have to log into the library first, and that's just crazy. Why is it doing that to me? So maybe the shortcut link doesn't work for me. So then you get to this link, and then you have to log in with your Ivy Tech login, and then you get access to Books 24/7. While you are a student at Ivy Tech, you have access, and I did log into the library. Oh, it's driving me crazy here. Okay. Let me go back. I did log in. Okay, I logged in here, logged in there, Books 24/7. Now we'll log in. Oh, I got to log in with my Books 24/7 login. That's why it's different. Let's see here. I'll have to go to my LastPass and then fill that out. So give me a second here. Oh, it's different. It will be, you'll have to create a different Books 24/7 password. Well, you'll have to create a different password. There we go. Copy the password and copy my username. You have to create a different, you have to register and create a different password for. Oh, okay, Brian, you were letting me know you're here. Okay, cool. So I will answer your question. Oh, have someone else. I don't. Let me pick on somebody else different, because I think I just saw a different feature on this. Let me pick on. Brian, I'm going to go ahead and pick on you, Brian. Again, I forgot to do this. Ask another question, ask the question. I don't know. Just ask a basic question. Just say, is it cold? Just ask that question. Is it cold? And I'm going to try to respond to that, because I think I see a different feature here now on that. So as you're asking that, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and log into Books 24/7. Now, once you're into Books 24/7, what I want to show you is you can search for Network Plus material. So I'm just going to go in the search here, and I'm going to click on Network Plus. You want to find the material, and I'm going to go ahead and click Go there. And I know this is a little bit small on here, but it'll be larger on your screen once you download it. And make sure that you're looking for the correct exam. But there are all kinds of books out here. So you can see all these different CompTIA books on Network Plus, CompTIA Network Plus. There's study guides. I'm gonna go back here to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going And if you see over here on these personal folders, you can create folders. You can manage folders and create folders. And I've got the Neti 105, and I've saved some textbooks over here to mine. So make sure you're doing the N10005 study if you look up any books. But you've got some different books out here, and you don't need to go buy your own study books for the Network Plus. You can come out here and you can download these. Now, these are virtual books or online books, but at least you can come out here and you can check this information out. So you can come out here, and it's going to talk about the OSI 7-layer model, and it's going to give you information to study on, See, and it's going to give you more material on top of what's already in the course. So you'll see me from time to time pulling up books 24/7 and pulling some of this material up and talking about it from time to time. And let's go back to table of contents there. In fact, I'm going to be using it tonight. But for now, I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to come back to it. Okay, is it cold out? Okay, thank you, Brian. And I'm going to answer your question. And everyone should be able to see that question and the answer. Is everyone able to see that? Or perfect, Emily, great, thank you. Okay, that's perfect. That is a new feature, so thank you. Thank you. Emily and Sarah got me, so nobody else needs to respond, but thank you, Brian, for that. And so now I know I can, if you ask a question, I can respond either privately or send it to everybody. So thank you. I do have that working. And I'm going to remove those questions, so we'll keep a track record of any questions that do pop up. Okay, so let's go back to the course. I've shown you the books 24/7 and where you can get those. I'm going to close those. And there's the CompTIA Networks Plus certification. You can check that out at your leisure over the next few weeks. Now, the way the course, everyone should know how the course operates so far with Cisco. But I'm just going to give you a quick run through. The first thing you should have done already is went down here to Student Resources. And you should have downloaded the packet tracer. That's vital for this course, is to get the packet tracer up and running. So you want to download the packet tracer. There was a new version that just came out called numbered 6.2. When we first started this course, we were at 6.11. If you downloaded that and installed that, you are going to be okay for this course. They added some things in 6.2 that allow for students to do some of the other courses, Cisco courses, the Cisco Think 3 and 4 course. If you want to download the 6.2, there's nothing going to mess up on your computer. They will actually run side by side. What I did is I uninstalled Cisco Packet Tracer 6.11, and then I downloaded and installed 6.2. It didn't delete any of my files. Everything was, all of my labs that I saved were still there. All of my folders and files and everything that I created were still there. It didn't delete anything. So you should be safe enough if you want to download the 6.2. But if you want to just continue using the 6.1, that's fine too for this course. If you take any of the future Cisco courses and you start getting into the packet tracer, you'll want to use that newer version because there are some things with it that will help you in some of the other Cisco courses, not this one in particular. Now, the instructor version versus the student version, there is no difference other than the instructor version allows you to create labs, but there's no answers in there. There's nothing that's going to help you study better for the exam or any of that. It's basically a way for you to be able to create labs for students is what the instructor version has. So if you want to get the student version, you're not missing out on anything by getting the student version versus the instructor version. Once you get in here, there's different options. There are Linux versions, so if you are running Linux, we do not have a Macintosh version at this point. If you do have a Macintosh, what I would recommend doing is you can run Parallels on Macintosh, and if you don't have a Mac, you don't have to worry about that. I run VirtualBox, and if you see here, I've got the VirtualBox operating system, and I run VirtualBox. You can run VirtualBox on a Macintosh. And you can see I've got a copy of Windows 7 I run. I've got my Windows XP, my Windows 3.1, and I use that one for spammers. When spammers call me and I want to set them up with malware, I log into that and let them log in there so they can get malware on their computers. And then Windows 10 Preview. But you can, if you're on a Macintosh machine, you can get a copy of Windows 7, download that, and you can get that from, if you go into Campus Connect and you log into Campus Connect, and on the left-hand side, you will see a link called Download Microsoft Office. That takes you to And mine doesn't look the same because I don't have the same rights to, I can't download the same software that you can get. I can only get, I can't get all of it. But you should be able to download a copy of Windows 7. See, I only see the Office 365 Pro. But you should be able to go in and get a copy of Microsoft Office 7. I believe that's there for everybody. You know, if somebody can correct me down the road. You don't have, nobody has to look right now, but you can correct me in the future. But I think you should be able to get a copy of Windows 7 if you're on a Macintosh. So you can run VirtualBox, get Windows 7 up and running, and then you can run Packet Tracer inside there. So that's an option for those Mac users. Now, download your version. There's some different ones here. If you download just the tutorials add-on, that's just the tutorials, and that's not going to run anything for you. You need to get the version. This is the student version here. This is the one without tutorials. If you download this very last one, you also have to download this file if you want to put tutorials on there. But what they've done is this version right here has this version. Let me see if I can highlight. There we go. This version right here. Ooh, and that just looks weird. I'm trying out my tools. There we go. I'll use my spotlighter. There we go. This version has the tutorials built in, but you can see it's a larger size, 150,000 K or 150 meg. This file right here is the add-ons. This one, if you download, it's 56 meg. It does not have the tutorials, and then you would have to download the tutorials and separate and run them. But I had a student that just downloaded and ran this, and it doesn't work. You have to get the full version here or the one with no tutorials, because if you just do the add-on, it's not going to run for you. That's not actual Packet Tracer. So you get that downloaded and installed, and you should have Packet Tracer then, and I think I have Packet Tracer. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Packet Tracer just so we can walk through it. And I did the instructor version just so I don't really create a lot of labs, but I could do it with there. And I'm just going to move that to the background. I just wanted it open. And we're going to get back to the course here. And after you get all that done, you can just click on NetSpace Home. And you can click on the course. You will notice that the NetiCAD site, for me, tends to be slow. I'll click on something and it just takes a second to get there, so it's just something you have to deal with on the NetiCAD site. You would think that maybe Cisco would make it run a little bit faster, but I think what's happening is it's just a worldwide site and there's so many people using it that it just it's slow sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to look around the course real quick. You have your modules, and your modules should show all of your material for each week. You should see, and you're going to see a little bit different. In fact, let me, I'm going to switch views here. I'm going to bring in, I've got a student login, and I'm going to show you from the student view, just so you can see what's going on from the student view. And you're going to see your modules, and you're going to see anything of import that pops up. You can see I've had 7 grades posted for me, but you're going to say there's not, you don't see that. I need to hide that, don't I? So nobody else sees that. And then you're going to see all of these text files here, and you need to read down through those because those are important. Where you don't need to use the NetiCAD, or excuse me, not the NetiCAD, the NetLab online, so I'm really not going to focus on that at this point. If your instructor has you using the NetLab, then you would work with them to get that up and running. Now, so what you're going to do is each week you're going to look at your session information, and these are reading. So let's just say this is session, get your computer ready for class. You're going to click on that, and that's going to be a page, and it's going to run just like a web page that we're going to hear. And you're going to go down and you're going to see, okay, here's how you get my class get ready. If I click on View All Pages, it's going to take me back. You're going to see all the pages there, so you can see around how things are. But what I do is I typically go back to modules because that takes me back to this part here. I'm not sure if everyone else, it's not that I get frustrated, it's just that the design of this course is not something, I wouldn't design it this way. But this is the way it's been designed by Cisco, and we just kind of live with it. It to me feels a little bit clunky how you have to move around. But it's just something you learn to get used to. So I have just learned to always click back on modules to get back to this spot. And then we see our labs that we do each week. There's the pre-test exam, and you'll see any exams that you have to do. If you see these chapter quizzes, those do not have points assigned to them, and there's no due date. Those are for your benefit. Those are to prepare you for the final exam, and those are to do any covering of the material. So you can see that I can go in here, and I've done it a few times, and it doesn't appear in the grade book. And see, it'll tell me that that's answered. That's my quiz popped up again, and I would need to go through and answer. That's what and each time you're going to get different questions, and they're going to be reordered. But I'm not going to take this again. And you can take those as many times as you want to. It doesn't matter what your score is. Those are for your benefit, for you to be able to take and for you to go through. And then when you get to these chapter exams, though, there's one that we had in session 2. You do need to take those, and those do have due dates, and you need to complete those before the due date. And you do only get one shot at those, or one chance at those. And you need to get those do count towards your final grade. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down through the material for session 1. If you see where it says Launch Introduction to Networks, and like down here we see Read Chapter 1, Exploring the Network. You'll see that these are material from Cisco that Cisco has built. So when we launch content, it's going to open up a whole new tab window. Most of you have already went through this material, so I'm going to go through, or you should have already went through this material. So I'm going to go through rather quickly on this to shorten our time tonight. And I need to allow it. It's using the Amazon servers to host. There we go. And I've got ad blockers and things turned on. I need to turn them on here, so I need to whitelist this site. There we go. There we go. And how the course works then, once I launch the Cisco Academy, Networking Academy, you can come down through and you can click on the left over here to move through, or you can just click on these arrows as we move through. So as you're going through, it's going to walk you through on how to do the information. It's got a lot of information here for you on the how we teach, the wide open minds. It's just got a lot of great information for you to go down through. Navigating the course, I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down to that. Controlling your experience, there we go. Course GUI, there we go. And then you can play these videos. They'll play the videos for you, and they'll walk you through. I don't think most of them have actual sound with them, so they'll just play and actually walk through for you. And the reason they don't have sound is because I think they're based in these courses are taken by students all around the world, and they can. I don't think they just translate them to everywhere. I think these are English, and I think that's what a lot of students do, but they didn't translate any of the voice or include that. That's toggle the GUI there. But then when you're done with this, you can then click back on the Home tab, which will take you back to here, but it won't break you out of there. So what I do is I just close the tab. This other tab was left open for me, and then I can just go back up here and go back. And something's not running right here. I need to log out and log back in with my student here. Let me do that on my regular page because something's not loading right with my. I had a different Chrome browser open and it's not logging in right. So give me just a second as I change my login from faculty to student. There we go. Now it should run right because I've got everything opened up on this one. I don't have anything blocked. There we go. And I'm going to click on modules. We are not doing any discussion boards in this course. So there's no discussion boards on there. If you want to check your grades, you click on your grades, and your grades will look. This is a student view, so your grades will look like this. You'll see that the weighting over here, I've got to do some moving around on some of this, so you'll see some of these change a little bit. I don't think some of this weighting is set properly. But if your course is going to be maybe set up a little bit different if you're on the statewide, but you'll be able to see your score, X percentage out of 0% once it gets graded. You're seeing the zeros here because this is my student account, and I've just went in and put zeros in. But you'll see your information. You'll see any comments that I leave for you, and you'll see all of that go down through. And These are, you're going to see these down here, and I don't, in that course, some of these don't have due dates yet, and I'm not sure why. But you'll see those sorted, and you'll be able to see all of your assignments, and you'll be able to come down here and look at your assignments on there. And then this score gets then put back over in Blackboard. If you click on people, does that show you the? Yeah, I think it does. Okay, yeah, it does show you everybody in the class for that particular class, so you can see everybody. I would just ask that you don't email and contact unless you already have that preset up. So don't do any type of spamming or anything. Don't ask other students for answers and things like that either. Just focus on yours. Now I'm going to go back to modules, and I'm going to go to session 1, and we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do these couple of labs, and I'm going to walk through there. Okay, Emily, let me see. Emily's got a question. I'm going to read it real quick. Okay, Emily, let me get back with you on that. I'm not sure why that's working for you. So from a big standpoint, I'm not going to answer that question for the course-wide, but I will answer that for you. What I'll do is I'll answer that in the Q&A session because I'm not sure why yours is doing that, but I'll have to look at my instructor side to see what's going on, and I don't want to log out and log back in for that. Let me go through. I see it. I see that. Okay, great. We'll get that, Emily. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through these 3 labs here quickly just to show you if you haven't get caught up yet, or I know there's a few students that are behind a little bit, so I'm just going to walk through this for you. The 0001 lab, I'm going to click on that. If you're using the NetLab, this is for any students using the NetLab, you'll have worked with your instructor to do that. My particular class is not using the NetLab. I'm having everybody use the packet tracer because you can do that. And I'm just going to download the PDF file. And I'm going to download it to, let's see here. I'm going to download it to my Ivy Tech, my Spring, my Neti 105. And I'm going to put it in labs here. And I've already got it there, but I'm just going to re-download it. And I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to open it up as an actual PDF because if I open it up in my browser, I can't move it around. So I'm going to open that up as an actual PDF using Adobe Reader, or if you have some other type of PDF reader, you can do that. And I'm going to turn off the fill-in sign there, so I've got a full size on there. There we go. Now, what you're going to find on some of these PDFs in the course is some of them will not, they have forms in here for you to complete, and I'm going to scroll down to show you this. Some of these have forms, but some of them are messed up. When they were opened on a Macintosh machine at some point and then not saved properly, or with Adobe, the Adobe software, and I do not have the Adobe software to fix it. But if you notice what happens is then when I go down to this field, watch it. No, I thought it was going to make a liar out of me. And then I've then put my answer down here, and then I click back up here, it changes it. It copies the field across there. So what I've told students to do is, instead of, if you come across one of these PDFs that does this, you know, if it's messing up on you, just open up a notepad and put your answer in, you know, and just do this. Just do answer number 1, my answer, and then answer number 2. And just answer that. Well, I can't type tonight. And then take that and copy that, not cut it, copy it. And then when you go to put the assignment up, I went back over to the class now, and I'm going to go ahead and resubmit the assignment. And I'm going to go ahead and put my Adobe PDF file in. See, I'm going to go to Documents. I'm going to go ahead and put the Adobe PDF file in there. Neti 105, Labs, Neti 105. Okay, and then in my comments, I'm going to put my actual answer in there. I can then grade your assignment based on your answers being in your comments. So then when I submit the assignment, I can see it on my side. I see your comments along that you submitted the PDF, and then I can grade that then. See, you can see the comments that I was testing that. I was testing that back on January 20th and then 28th. So that's as a backup. Now you need, if you've got a different instructor than in my class, again, if you're listening to this recording later and you've got your instructor gives you different instructions, then follow the instructions from whoever's teaching your course. Okay, so let's go down through this lab here. What I'm going to do is I've opened up Packet Tracer, and what I typically do is I take the PDF and I just move it over to the left-hand side. I know that's a little bit small on your side to read, but this is what I do on my screen, and then I move Packet Tracer to the left-hand side, and it makes it, well, unless I'm using dual screens. Dual screens, if you have multiple screens, it's really nice. But for sake of this recording, I'm working on one screen. And what we're going to do is all of these labs have objectives. It's going to tell you what you need to do. You're going to have a background and scenario of why you're doing what you're doing. And then you're going to have required resources, and this is what you're going to be putting into the Packet Tracer area. These are your hardware that you're going to be using, because you could take this PDF and use actual live hardware. You could go get a regular Cisco 1941 switch and a Cisco 9041 router, a 2960 switch, and you could run this with regular equipment. But since we don't have those, well, and let me back up. All Ivy Tech campuses across the state do have equipment. We received funding. We received federal grant funding to purchase equipment. I know on the Richmond campus we have I think something like 9 1941 routers. We have I think 9 or 10 switches. We've got some server cabinets with servers. And if you want to work with your local instructor to get lab time, for those of you that in the Richmond area, what you would do is you would just go on Ivy Advising, set up a lab time, or send me an email and we'll set up some lab time, and you can come in and use the actual hardware if you want to. And that way you can get some actual hands-on with the hardware and some time with that. And I have no problem with that. But for any students that are not in the Richmond class, then you would just check with your instructor and you would find out if you can get lab time. Most of the campuses, or some of the campuses I know, have open labs. I know Lafayette does. Some of the other ones have open lab time. So you can just work with your instructor if you are able to get to those campuses and do those labs. Now, when we get on down here after our required resources, it's going to tell you what you're doing. And all of these labs build on each other. So the things that we learn in lab 0001, we're going to use that information later on, and it's just going to assume that you remember how to do some of these commands. So in a later lab, it may say initialize and reload the lab will say initialize the router and reload. It won't tell you how to do it. It won't give you the steps like it does in this lab. It'll just assume that you remember how to do that. So that's just, you need to understand that that's what's happening with these labs. They build on each other. So they're not going to tell you how to do it each time. They're just going to show you once, and then it may not show you again. So here we go. What we're going to do here is we need to set up, and it gives you a visual here on how to set this up, and this is usually how I set up mine. I'm just going to go over here to Packet Tracer, and I'm going to go grab my router first, and I'm going to go grab a 1941 and put on the workspace. I'm going to grab a 2960 switch. So I'm going to click on switches. I'm going to move a 2960 up here. I'm going to grab 2 PCs and put those up there. So I'm going to click on End Devices and just put 2 generic desktops up there. And then what it's having us do here is we need to have console cables. The great thing about Packet Tracer, or should I say not the great thing, but one of the things that lets you be a little bit lazy is you don't have to physically go into the computer or to get the operating system for the switch and the router. So what does that mean? In the real world, I have to hook up a computer to the switch. I have to hook up a console cable. And let me just go over here and router console cable. Let me pull one up for you just to show you. This is what a console cable will look like. You'll see something kind of like this right here. This is a good picture of one. You'll see something kind of like this. You'll see a COM port, and this is what you'll put on the COM port of your computer, and then you would plug this RJ45 connector into the back of your router or your switch where your console port is. You also have some of the newer ones that have they have USB. We do USB console cable. You'll have one that maybe look like this. It might look like USB on the back here and RJ45 there. You might have some of them that are now USB into the back of the router too. So there are different ones, but typically you're going to see some along the lines that look like this one right here. You're typically going to see, but some computers now don't have COM ports on them anymore. Like my laptop does not have a COM port on it, so I would have to use a console cable that's USB. I would have to go up here and find one of these USB ones. Yeah, one along these lines, and use a USB connector. But what Packet Tracer allows us to do is we don't have to physically find that cable, and we don't physically have to get the software set up and running right, because it's all in our environment here. So we get more of a hands-on with the operating system, and instead of going through and doing that. So let's go through and do this first lab here. We're going to go through, and it says we're going to attach the console cables. So in Packet Tracer, we would just click on the connections here. Console cables are blue, so we're going to hover over it, and it's going to say that's my console cable there. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to drag it up here, and you can see the icon change. I'm going to plug it into the RS-232, which is my COM port, communication port, and then I'm going to plug it into the, click on that, and plug it into the console. And then I'm going to go grab another one. I'm going to go grab another one, plug it into the RS-232, plug it into the console, not the auxiliary, and now I have console access into those devices. Now, it says wait for all the devices to finish software loading. They should already be loaded because Packet Tracer works faster. If not, on Packet Tracer you can fast forward time. Sometimes I just click on that 2 or 3 times, and so you can see the time bouncing forward real quick. It speeds time up. It's kind of like a time warp for you on Packet Tracer. So we're going to connect to the router. We're going to go into the router PC, and I'm going to double click on the router PC, and we're going to be able to see the PC here. And I'm not going to go through on how to work all of this. I'm just going to show you that you go to the desktop. We're going to click on the terminal software, because that's what be our terminal software that we were using on a regular computer. We're going to leave everything set to default, and then we're going to get our console terminal window here. You don't want to do the configuration dialog. When we're working with anything in this Cisco class, you always do no. You don't want to go into the configuration dialog. We just don't use that feature when we're configuring the routers or the switches. And then I'm just going to press enter, and then it's going to walk me through. I'm at user exec, or excuse me, I'm into the router right now, and I'm into user exec mode, and I need to get into privileged exec mode. With the Cisco operating system, the greater than sign, and I apologize that this is kind of small on here, but with the greater than sign, let me see if I can copy and paste this in the, there we go. With the greater than sign, that tells you that you're in user exec mode. When we get into privileged exec mode, you're going to see the pound sign. Or for those of you with a newer generation, that's called hashtag now. But for those like me that are the older generation, that's a pound sign. And so we're just going to type the enable command. Remember with Cisco, and you probably should already know this because you're going through the material, but with Cisco commands, you can shorten them. I can just type EN. I can hit the tab key, and it will tell me what the commands are available are, or I can just type EN and get into enable. And now I'm in privileged exec mode. So I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to simply do erase startup config. My startup config file is my config file that tells the router what it needs to do. The reason it's showing you how to do this particular lab is if you pick up a router off the shelf that somebody else has used, you may not want to use that configuration because you want it to be fresh. You want it to be brand new, or you want it to be clean. So what we're doing with this lab is we're cleaning the configuration files. So we're going to do erase startup, and I'm just going to use my tab key. See, I didn't have to type all that in. If you saw what I did there, I just typed STA and then press my tab key. So I'm going to erase startup config. I'm going to press yes for confirm. It erases it. I'm going to reload the router. I'm going to confirm it, and it's going to reload the router. On a real-world router, it would take about 30, maybe 45 seconds to a minute. Packet Tracer speeds it up for you. And then I'm going to come on down here, and we're going to bypass the initial configuration. I'm going to say no again. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to get into enable to get into privileged exec mode. And I'm scrolling on down here, and we're going to delete the VLAN file. So I'm not going to walk through all of these on this lab here. I'm just going to, that we can We can delete the VLAN.dat. Yes, we want to delete that. Confirm it. Yes. We're going to erase the startup. Oh, that's in the there we go, and then erase the startup config. Did we do that? This is, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't go into the switch. I'm still doing this on the router. We did that on the router, which you can do that on there too. So that's the router. We're done with that. Now we're going to initialize the switch and reload it. So we just close down this software. We go over here to the switch, the PC that has the console cable into the switch, go into desktop, go into terminal, and then now you can see my switch here. It doesn't have a confirmation, so I'm going to enable. I'm going to show flash, show my flash information. It doesn't have VLAN-DAT set up on there already, so we don't have to worry about it. But if you were going to delete the VLAN-DAT, I don't think it's there, so it's not going to give me anything. So, but go ahead and run it, and then you just do the erase startup config. If I can type, click yes. Then I've done that, and then I do a reload on the router, or excuse me, on the switch. It's going to reload the switch, and I've done that lab. And then you're going to come down here, and you're going to answer the questions. And you can research these questions. You can find out why these are. I'm not going to give you the answers to those. You can figure those out, or actually I think everyone's turned these in already. But that's pretty much it. That's just showing you how you get a new set of equipment and you delete or erase it and reload it. If you want to save these packet tracer files that you've worked on and you want to bring them back later, let's say that you've worked on one that's complicated, that you've got 3 or 4 switches or 3 or 4 routers and you've got everything configured and you don't want to lose it. You can actually come up here to packet tracer and say save as, and then you can save this PKT file. And let me just say that I'm going to save this one. I'm going to say 0.0.1 lab, and I'm going to save that. And then when the next time I come into packet tracer, I'm going to close this one. I'm not going to open it. Well, if I close packet tracer, I can come in here and I can going to close packet tracer. Let me open packet tracer back up. I'm going to simulate closing packet tracer and opening it back up. And let's just do this here. And come on down here. And I can do a file. Well, I can just do the icons. Open. I can find my lab. And a la peanut butter sandwiches, we have our lab that we were already working on. And all of our configuration information is already there. So if you find yourself working on a lab and, something happens, the dog runs away, or you've got to go pick up the kids from school, or for whatever reason you have that you need to leave to leave your lab, you can come in here and you can save it, and you can name it, and then you can come and open it up later, and everything's saved for you, which is really nice. You can't do that with real-world equipment. Well, I guess you could leave it running, but then if you don't have real-world equipment, Packet Tracer allows you to do that. So that's simply how you walk through labs on here. And let me see if I can, there we go. And then I'm just going to click back on modules again. And I'm not going to do this lab or this lab because you should have already worked through those. Everyone should be okay on those. Were just navigating the iOS. That one was representing the network. We didn't have any labs there. This one's building a simple network. And unless anybody needs help on these two here, if I do this Packet Tracer Skills Integration Challenge, I'm going to demonstrate this one real quick. If I do this would look different than yours. And because they come up and there's 3 or 4 different scenarios that will pop up, so they'll look a little bit different. But these are integration challenges. And if anybody needs help with a particular lab that you've already worked on, go ahead and put your question in the question box, and I'll try to work through that one real quick. I'm showing 8 o'clock, so we've got about 20-25 minutes left of time before we start wrapping up. So if you have a particular lab or a particular question that you want answered on this material, go ahead and put your question in. I know, Emily, I see your question there, and I'll get to yours here in a few minutes about the quizzes. But if anybody else that's here needs help with that, go ahead and put your question in the question box. On these skills integration challenges, there is a PKA file and there is a PDF file. The PDF file is the overview for the challenge or for that lab, but you don't necessarily have to download that other than to upload for your upload the file. The PKA file will have all of your lab information on there. So if you click on that to download that, and I'm just going to put that in my labs area, and I think it's already there. No, it's not. I'm just going to save it at the same name there. And I'm just going to click on that and open it, and it should open up in my packet tracer. Nope, it's not for some reason. Let's fix it's Windows 8. I'm not a big fan of Windows 8. Let me find packet tracer here. Look for another app. We'll go packet tracer. Don't you just love Windows 8? When I reinstalled Windows Packet Tracer, it changed up. Well, I'm not finding Packet Tracer. Let me see where Packet Tracer went. There we go. And it's under the bin file. And Packet Tracer 6. There we go. Now those files will open up now that I've got it set. Okay, Emily, on this one particular, I'm assuming. So on here, the user profile, you don't have to put a name or anything on there. I just always click OK. Now, your packet tracer integration may look different than mine. It may look different. Now, if you move this out of the way, you'll notice that this little window in the background opens up. This is your packet tracer challenge information, and this is the same information that's on that PDF file. So what I do is I just go ahead and open that up. And I'm not going to walk through the whole thing here. I'm just going to show you what you need to do these packet tracers. Now, you see that it took a few seconds for these all to come up live. If not, you can always fast forward time to get those up and running. And then what you're going to do is it's going to tell you what you need to do. It's going to assume that you've already worked through the labs and you already know how to do some basics up to this point, that you know how to reload the switches, that you need to go in and assign IP addresses and assign IP addresses to VLANs. So it's going to give you the objectives. It's going to then come in and give you the scenario, and then you need to do what it's telling you to do, but it's not going to walk you through it. So part of doing these skills integration challenges is to make sure that you're understanding up until this point what you're actually doing with the labs. So you're going to use a console connection to access each switch. So that's easy enough. We can just take a console. Oh, well, if you get the connections locked, if you get something that's locked, just remember that on the packet tracer, you don't necessarily need the console, and I don't know why they locked it on this packet tracer integration if you need to do the console. But you can actually come in here to the device, and let's say that I need to room 145 or room 146 switches. If I need to name them, so they're named here, but they're not named in there, but I can just double-click on the device and then click on CLI, and now I can see my command line. It's easy enough. I don't need to use a console on there to get in there. And then if I just press my enter key, then I'm there, and then I can enable, and then I can do a startup config. Well, why is it not showing? Okay. Oh, not startup config. Config T. Man, I'm having a brain lock up. I'm doing config T, which gets me into the configuration files, and then I can then go in and name those and run those commands. But you have to know the commands. The skills integration is not going to walk you through on how to do that. But if you have done the labs, let me go back here. This is 2412. If you've done the labs, building the simple network right here would have walked you through. If I download 2334 here, if I worked on this to begin with, this lab would have already walked you through on how to do naming. See right here, this one is almost identical to the skills integration challenge. It's talking how to go in and show how to put names on switches, and this gives us a lot of extra that we don't need for packet tracer. But there we go. You can configure terminal, see setting a name, host name, command changes the switch to S1. So see, this skills integration was wanting us to, well, let me open all this back up. This skills integration was wanting us to name the switches respectively. So I'm in room 146. So I'm just going to do host name, and that's going to now be named room-146. And see, now you see the host name changed to 146. So that's that step there. And then use the AXAW password for all lines. So I would have to put the passwords on. I don't have a lot of time to run through these labs, but I would assign the passwords there. And then once I get all of that done, well, and just remember that when you do passwords, there are secret passwords and there's password for lines. Your password for your lines or your password for your consoles, for your console line. Your secret password is the 6. This one here is 4. And if you come back over here, I'm going to look at the lab here and I'm going to show you where it's talking about the passwords. Doing the enable secret, and then if I did, well, this right here, if I did enable secret or XAW, or excuse me, 6EB, that's what it's wanting us to make the secret password. So if I did enable secret and put that password, that would make the, let me back up. That's the secret password. And then we go into line console, and then the password for the line console would be XAW6. So hopefully, Emily, that's Emily asked the question that she keeps getting kicked out of privileged exec mode because it requested a password. It not. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not sure why it might have done that. So because they shouldn't have passwords on these skills integrations, they shouldn't be there to begin with. See, we should be able to go in and so you're going to set up, if you do an enable secret, enable, I got to type it out, enable secret, and they're wanting us to use, there we go. They're wanting us to use the secret password of 6, and it is case sensitive. It is case sensitive, so make sure that that's the enable secret. Well, why is it not? Oh, because I'm not in config T. There we go. Now I do enable secret 6EBUP. There we go. There we go. Now I have to type it out. So I should have put the secret password, and then I go into console or yeah, I've got to set my line console 0, which is my console, and then I set, and I'm just going to use this here. I'm going to set my password and of this one's going to be XAW6K. It says in clear. I'm not going to encrypt my clear passwords, and it also says to set a banner of the day. But if you go back to this lab, this is setting the banner of the day, and then saving your configuration. You have to copy. You have to copy your running config, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one here. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close that console down. But if I go back into room 146 and I log off. I log off, and I go to log back in, well, it should ask me for a password. So if I go to enable, it should ask me for a password. That password right there is my secret password. So that should be 6EBUP. Okay? If I put in and it's not letting me do the console line for some reason, I don't know why. See, there is no console on there. It's not letting me attach a console, so I'm not sure why it's asking us to attach a console and do that. But this particular lab is a little bit. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but we would just have to go directly in. Well, no, in Emily, it's okay. It's just you may run into these little glitches because I just can't connect a console line to check it. But let me see, because if I exit out of here. If I was using the console, it should ask me for a console, but since I'm going directly into it using Packet Tracer, it's not asking me for the password, but it should be set. And I should be able to go in and check the banner of the day and check all that. Now, what I wanted to show you is after you get all of this information set, you can come in out here and you can check your results on the activity, and it will tell you your assessment items, and it'll tell us what I got right and what I didn't get right. Okay, so I got 4 out of 90 on the score. See, I got my password set, I got my enable secret and my host name. I didn't set my banner, I didn't set my secret, I didn't set all the other information. So it's going to tell you what you missed. And then you're going to close that, and over here on your labs, it's going to tell you what you need to submit. And on this one, you're going to need to submit your, well, that's the wrong one. You're going to need to submit that PKT file. So on this one, because we did the packet tracer skills integration, you need to submit that PKT file so I can check that out. And then what I would do is I open it up on my end and I check to see what your score was on there. So you can do those. You can do those packet tracer files as many times as you want to. But what happens is every time you close it and you can't save it. So what you want to do is you want to work through it, and then after you run the to see where you are, it's going to give you your score, and I believe you should be able to go and fix it. So let me open this back up again. If I remember correctly, it's been a few months since I ran this. So let me do this. See, it gave me a different version this time, and it gave me different IP numbers. So I'm going to fast forward time, and let's say I'm going to check my activity. I'm going to check my results, and see I messed up, and I said, okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back to I'm going to close this window, and it's going to open this back up, and I'm going to say I can go back in here and I can fix what I need to fix, and I can then check my results again. So you can keep working on these until you get it 100% right. Okay, so this is not like an exam where you check it once and it's going to be wrong. You can check it. You check your results, check to see what's right or wrong, and then you can close this, and then you can then be able to come back out here and fix what's right and wrong. So and then go into the command line, fix what's right and wrong, and then just keep working on it. So these integration challenges, skills integration challenges, are there for you to help you. Control Z at the end. Kelly is asking the question about Control Z at the end. That's where on which one? I guess I'm not sure which one. Where it says if you get locked up, I think if what you're asking about, if on here, if you get locked up in one, like if you put the wrong command in where it does that, I think that's, well, see, Control Z won't break you out of that. That's where it's trying to look for DNS, and that's where you set the no DNS lookup. But Kelly, if you put it in the question box, and I'll see if I can fix that. And Emily, I'm going to drop some of your questions on here. Oh, and I see what you're saying. It asks you for a password twice. Try re-downloading the packet tracer integration exam if you're having trouble with it, and see if you can redo it, and see if you just had one that was glitched, or if you're having problems with it, just send it to me. And those are small enough. You can probably just email them to me. Let me see what size these are. These are fairly small. Those challenges. They're smaller than the PDF, so you can just email it to me and ask me to take a look at it, and I have no problem with that. And I'm not ignoring your I'm not ignoring your questions. I'm just clearing them to keep the ones that I need to still answer, because on there. Okay, Kelly, you had a question about Control Z at the end, but I'm not clear on what exactly. So if you put that in the question box and maybe give me a little detail, I can help you out with that. What I want to do is leave about the next 10, 15 minutes open for questions. If anybody's got any questions, put them in the question box. If you don't have any questions, you feel free to log off. You're not required to stay. And then what I'm going to do is I covered really up through session 3 with this session. Next week, what I'm going to do is go through I will go through some more of the material next week, and I'll actually do some of the lecture. In the meantime, just a reminder, if you go to my YouTube channel, I do have, if you go to the YouTube channel there, and go to the YouTube channel there and go to the playlist. If you scroll down to the playlist down here and click on the NetAcad RNS course, you will see the Cisco PowerPoint. So I have lecture material on the PowerPoint. So if you click on those, I've got videos on the actual PowerPoints, and I go through the PowerPoints and explain the material. So if you've already went through the material on your own, that's fine, but you'll see I actually give some explanations on some of the material. I actually explain what's going on with it. So if you want to go down through those are fine. And again, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll see when I put new stuff out there. And then if Yeah, somebody was commenting there. Okay, and then just check it out on there. And then I'll have, that's my actual lecture material that I have out there. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point because I need to check. Emily's got a question on quizzes, so I'm going to check that for her, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second. And I think you're just looking at the synchronous schedule. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the question box. If you don't have any questions, you can feel free to log off. I'm going to try to find out what's going on with Emily's exams here. You're saying, Emily, that it's just giving you a blue box. Have you already taken the exams? And it may be because they're no longer activated for you. Okay, Kelly, good. Okay. These are on the quizzes? Okay. Let me open up a couple of quizzes. Let me open up Chapter 1 quiz. Let's see. Have you taken them at all, Emily? Chapter 1 worked for you? Chapter 2 should be open, but not the rest. I'm going to look at Chapter 3 quiz and see what's happening with that. And I'm going to take the quiz here. Oh, yeah, you're right. There's just nothing there. You're right. What's going on with that? Okay, I see what's happening. Okay, I'll try to get that fixed over the next couple of days and email everybody in the class. That's a specific to my class problem. I don't know why that's. I'll have to log in as my let me log back in as my instructor and find out what's going on with that. So you're right. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Okay, any other questions? And Emily, I will get that fixed and I'll send an email out to the entire my particular class.